If you've ever walked off the field, court, course, or rink and thought, I don't understand. Last week I played amazing. Today I couldn't do anything right. You're definitely not alone. It's one of the most frustrating experiences in sports because it makes you question yourself. You start wondering if you're actually as good as you thought you were. You wonder if your confidence has disappeared, if you've lost your touch, or maybe if you've just been fooling yourself all along. What's even more confusing is that the inconsistency often doesn't make sense. Maybe you had a great week of practice, maybe you prepared the same you always do. Nothing obvious changed, and yet your performance felt completely different. One day, everything seems effortless. The next day, you're second-guessing every decision, your timing feels off, and you're making mistakes that you know you're capable of avoiding. Most athletes assume this means their ability is inconsistent. I actually don't think that's what's happening. One of the biggest shifts I've seen in over 16 years of working with athletes is realizing that inconsistency is often not a problem of ability, it's a problem of access. Think about it this way, your ability isn't something that disappears overnight. You didn't suddenly forget years of training between Friday and Saturday. You didn't lose all your technical skills because the game started. Those abilities are still there. The question is whether you're able to access them in that particular moment. That's a very different question. Imagine your best performance. Chances are you weren't trying to force anything. Your attention was where it needed to be. Your decisions came naturally. You reacted instead of overthinking. You trusted what you knew. Now think of one of your worst performances. Did you suddenly become a different athlete? Probably not. More likely, your attention narrowed in unhelpful ways. You became more self-conscious. You started evaluating every mistake. Your body tightened. Your thinking sped up. You became more concerned with the outcome than the next moment in front of you. The interesting thing is that all of those experiences change what you have access to. When athletes tell me, I just wasn't myself today, I don't hear that as a confidence problem. I hear it as an access problem. Pressure has a remarkable way of changing what becomes available to us. It can make us lose access to clear thinking. It can reduce our awareness of the game around us. It can make our movements feel less fluid. It can pull our attention away from what's happening and toward everything that could happen. From the outside, it looks like inconsistent performance. From the inside, it's often a shift in what your internal systems are making available to you in that moment. The unfortunate part is what most athletes do next. They assume the answer is to try harder. They practice more. They search for more mechanical fixes. They look for more confidence. They tell themselves to focus. They try to eliminate mistakes. None of those things are necessarily bad, but if the real issue is access, then trying harder often creates even more internal pressure, and more internal pressure usually creates even less access. It's like trying to force yourself to fall asleep. The harder you try, the further away it gets. This is why two athletes with the exact same physical ability can perform so differently under pressure. It's also why the very same athlete can look completely different from one game to the next. What changes isn't necessarily their skill. What changes is their relationship with their internal experience. The athletes who appear incredibly consistent aren't necessarily the athletes who always feel confident or calm. They aren't perfect. They still have doubts. They still feel pressure. They still make mistakes. What they're often better at is maintaining access to what matters despite everything they're experiencing internally. They've learned how to keep their attention available. They've learned how to avoid getting pulled into every thought and every emotion. They've learned how to continue participating in the performance instead of becoming consumed by evaluating the performance. That's a very different skill than simply trying to be confident. So if you've been labeling yourself as inconsistent, I'd encourage you to ask a different question. Instead of asking, why am I so inconsistent, ask, what changes in my internal experience when my performance changes? Where does your attention go? What becomes important? What story are you telling yourself? What are you trying to avoid? Because the answer probably isn't that your ability disappeared. It's much more likely that pressure changed what you were able to access. And once you begin training your internal system, not just your sport, you'll often find that consistency isn't about eliminating bad days. It's about becoming someone who can access more of what they're capable of regardless of the circumstances.